Let's think back to the heady first days of the Biden administration, when the so-called adults were put back in charge. 2.5 years in, it's time to ask the question, how's that working out for you? Well, not great. See, one of the first things Joe Biden did, of course, was to cancel the Keystone Pipeline, which would have helped relieve American dependence on foreign oil and make the country an energy superpower. Sounds like a great idea, but not so much. Since then, a lot has happened, including petrol prices going through the roof, thanks in no small part to this cancellation. Have a look at this picture of the prices at a gas station in California, where it's now nearly $10 a gallon. When it comes to bringing down petrol prices, the Biden administration is, well, literally all out of ideas. Here's the U.S. Commerce Secretary speaking on the normally friendly CNN and admitting that, well, they don't have a clue.
The president is asking for Congress and others for potential ideas. But as you say, the reality is that there isn't very much more to be done.
Gosh, if only someone could have warned them. Maybe they should have watched this channel. Anyway, never mind. Inflation is out of control. A nuclear-armed aggressor has invaded a neighbor in Europe, and the American economy is reeling from 2 years of COVID-19 restrictions. Few modern presidents have arrived to Congress for a State of the Union under as much pressure as Joe Biden was today. And a few days ago, it started to show. Have a look at this. Here's Joe Biden making the act of walking on a manicured lawn look more challenging than advanced calculus. Now, at the start, it seemed like it was a more alert and stronger and aggressive Joe Biden stepping up to the lectern in Congress today. And his first target was Russia, who was taking the task for invading Ukraine.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions.
But soon cracks started to appear in that steely, tough-talking resolve, and Sleepy Joe made his first appearance less than 7 minutes into his speech when he forgot how to pronounce the Russian currency.
We're cutting off Russia's largest banks in the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble. Although
he tried hard to sound tough, Biden still came off sounding like Jimmy Carter timidly threatening Iranian clerics in Iran in 1979.
Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who bilked billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for your ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights.
Serious stuff. But then Joe managed to forget which country Russia had invaded.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
Whoops! Such an easy mistake to make when you're reading lines delivered to you by an autocracy. An autocue. Let's pause to consider the left's, how do I say this politely, elastic relationship with human rights. Now, they are happy on the one hand for illegal migrants to cross borders willy-nilly, but during the pandemic, they wanted everyone else locked up in their homes. They say they believe in free speech, but it really is on their own terms. They believe in lefty revolutionary nonsense, getting a fair hearing and a platform anywhere they can, but they also say that Donald Trump's tweets are violence. Spare us. But it's their assumed right to abort an unwanted pregnancy that is on the flimsiest grounds. Now, last week, someone from inside the Supreme Court leaked a draft that said the court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, the 1973 decision that tortured the U.S. Constitution into giving a federal guarantee of abortion rights rather than leaving the matter to the states, as it is done in many other countries, including Australia. Now, this news, this leak, sparked protests that were not only angry and violent, but also illegal. And they were really quite ironic, given that they came from the same side of politics that for years told us Donald Trump was violating norms. They now said that, well, it's okay to attack another norm, the sanctity of the Supreme Court, if it's about getting your way.
The holiday weekend isn't over yet, but already dozens of people have been shot, 6 of them fatally.
They say a man opened fire around 10:30 last night, shooting 3 people on West Walton Street before barricading himself in a building.
Now, police say the 23-year-old suspect was shot in the arm and taken to the hospital.
The Memorial Day weekend, historically violent, but this year marked by more guns at beaches, mass shootings on the west side that left 1 dead, and a 19-year-old woman shot late last night while riding a bike.
Yes, they just marked Memorial Day weekend in Chicago, which means the start of summer and a grim local reworking of the Gym Rats motto, sun's out, guns out. More than 50 people, 50 were shot, at least 9 fatally, in what was the most deadly and violent start to the summer in Chicago in at least 5 years last weekend. Weirdly, though, we have not heard the same calls for gun control that we have in the wake of the Uvalde shooting, which admittedly was far more horrific because it involved the direct targeting of innocents. It is absolutely fascinating to me that the media will latch on to any mass shooting when it involves a so-called assault rifle like an AR-15, while ignoring the much greater volume of mayhem committed with handguns in cities like Chicago. And if at least they're not ignoring it, then at least they're not proposing mass confiscation and the demonization of the owners, right? Well, gotta ask what's going on here. So let me propose a theory. It goes like this. The mainstream media looks at everything through a very twisted critical theory lens of race and class. To them, the AR-15 used in that horrific school shooting in Texas is not just a weapon, but it is a symbol of everything they hate. It is totemic of NRA members and Trump voters and, let's be really frank about it, white deplorables who, for them, don't have the right attitudes about climate change and all the other issues of the day. Before we investigate the actual consequences of Twitter falling, oh no, into the hands of a multi-billionaire free speech devotee, let's have a look at the psychological torment this development has brought upon the platform's previously most ardent supporters. Civil rights campaigner Shaun King told his 1.1 million followers that Musk's definition of free speech was about allowing, wait for it, white nationalists to target and harass people. Then, rather than stay behind to debate Musk in this new era of white supremacy, he summarily deleted his account. The New York Times, without even a hint of irony, tweeted that Musk's takeover wasn't about free speech, rather it was about controlling a megaphone. Yes, that's right, they just want to make sure they're the ones controlling it. New York Times columnist Greg Bensinger said that Musk would, quote, use the platform to slime his critics, body shame people, defy securities laws, and relentlessly hawk cryptocurrencies? Okay, sure. And CNN talk bubble Brian Stelter compared Twitter's new uninhabited policy to a wild party.
If you get invited to something where there are no rules, where there is total freedom for everybody, do you actually want to go to that party? Or are you going to decide to stay home? And that's a question for Twitter users.
Stay home, Brian. You'd only bore the rest of us anyway. And former Native American Elizabeth Warren said, billionaires like Elon Musk play by a different set of rules than anyone else, accumulating power for their own gain. But I guess it's okay when other billionaires like Jeff Bezos by the Washington Post, which has, of course, been hugely against all of this because democracy dies in Elon Musk owning Twitter. So the question is, precisely what is Musk proposing that frightens these people so much? Well, Musk himself explained it thusly, quote, I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means. Oh my God! How radical! Can you imagine the horror this caused? In 2020, just before the election, Miranda Devine at the New York Post broke the story of Hunter Biden's laptop, which the crackhead wastrel fail-son of America's next president left behind in a Delaware repair shop. Its contents detailed everything from drug addiction and problems with hookers to far more serious evidence suggesting foreign influence schemes and international corruption. This was followed up with Miranda Devine's book, Laptop from Hell, which became a bestseller. And among the shocking revelations she made was that, as of July 2021, Hunter Biden was still an investor in BHR, a partnership between his own company and a Chinese company. In other words, quote, the son of the U.S. president is in business with the government of Communist China. So, of course, The media did everything it could do to cover it up, and they even fell for the line, pushed by more than 50 former so-called intelligence agents, that this was all just Russian disinformation. And yet, now, suddenly more and more people are acknowledging that this was in fact true all along. The Washington Post is the latest to come to the story, confirming almost a year and a half after it was discovered that the laptop's contents were genuine. Which means, logically, everything else on there must be genuine too, presumably. In this world exclusive, we reveal what happened when Jeffrey Epstein associate Jean-Luc Brunel committed suicide in a French jail on the weekend. Have a look. Oh, wait. Hang on. There seems to have been some kind of technical problem with the video cameras, much like the one that the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York had when Jeffrey Epstein supposedly also made the same fate in 2019. I don't know, the death of each of these men seriously diminishes the number of people who prosecutors can lean on to divulge the names of other members of this sinister and secretive group, some of whom are supposedly extremely rich and powerful. Now, to be fair to the French authorities, video cameras are not permitted in the actual cells of French jails, something about the European Union's right to privacy even for convicted criminals, but they are allowed in hallways, so footage of Brunel's suicide was always going to be unlikely. But the alarming aspect of Brunel's death is that he had a chance to commit suicide at all. Because Brunel, who, like Epstein, was aged in his 70s, had been in prison since December 2020, charged with procuring underage girls and rape. He had apparently already made several attempts on his own life and was reported to be under constant watch. But despite this, he managed to hang himself somehow, or perhaps hang himself with the help of other people who wanted him silenced.